Hello and good morning. I have a news flash. You ready? Your brain is not your friend. Wait, what? We're going to explore this today. So, we are body, mind, and spirit. We are the light of the world. We are the individualized spark of divinity. We are source energy. We are unlimited potential. We are all of these things, but we are not our brains. Therefore, our brains are not our friends. We think, but we only repeat. We think we co-create, but we only really replicate. We think things would be better if she would change, he would be different, this and that and the other thing. But that's only a tiny, tiny glimmer of our potential, of what's possible for ourselves and our lives. We are here to lose our minds in order to embody our divinity. Now, let me explain. Our brains are not our friends until we train our brains. Our brains were developed as a part of our evolutionary process in the very beginning, in the beginning of humanity. We were developed, or our reptilian brain was developed. This is all about survival. This is all about those automatic responses. The reptilian brain gets triggered, gets activated, and comes front and center when we are triggered, when we are in survival needs. Now, behind the scene, the reptilian brain works all the time. It's what keeps us working our organs. It's what keeps us alive and well. It keeps our heartbeat running and our blood flowing and all of our interior processes. So that's not a bad brain. It only causes our problems when we let it run our lives today. Through the evolutionary process, then the limbic brain was created or developed. The limbic brain, this is what we talk about, that is emotional based. It's that place that gives us that visceral feeling. Remember when we talked about developing or discovering our sacred why, and we want that visceral experience. That's activating the limbic brain, emotionally based. And then we developed the neocortex, which is really about the brain of rationality. It's the brain where we have more conscious choice, where we can think more rationally. So I'm not saying the brain is bad, but what I am saying is when we let the brain, the unconscious brain, run us, that's where we get into trouble. So the brain is wired, developed to keep us safe, to keep us sane, and to keep us stuck. Now, what's interesting is that's how our brain is wired. But our soul is wired for evolution. Our soul is wired for expansion. Our soul is wired for the next thing that we don't know, which creates a tension, right? Between the brain, especially the unconscious brain, and the soul. So our work really is to begin to train the brain to be in support of our soul's evolution. Now, when we talk about the brain, we can also talk about the mind. The brain is the organ that is housed in the skull. The mind is bigger than the brain. The mind is how the brain functions, if you will. The mind also has three key parts to it, if you will. We have the unconscious, which science still tells us that we are 95 or 99% unconscious, which means that our conscious brain, our conscious mind, our conscious mind, generally speaking, across all of humanity, is only operating in consciousness about 5% of the time. And then we have the super conscious mind, which is infinite mind, which is infinite intelligence, which is divine mind, which is God, which is source, which is the quantum realm, if you will, the quantum field, if you will. So when we begin to distinguish, if you will, between the different aspects, we actually gain knowledge. When we gain knowledge, we gain power. So I've recently watched two different films, and one of them was called The Inside Effect, and it's all about a healing journey. And what the bottom line for this, and it's a fabulous film. If everybody's interested, just let me know, message me somehow, and I'll send you the link. It was out as a free premiere for a while, so I'm sure you can still access it. But it basically says that every single one of our conditions, whether it's biological or physiological or whatever, everything in our body is caused by our interior world, our inner world. And so even if we have a diagnosis, or maybe especially if we have a diagnosis, the real healing work is to unravel that which is underneath it, that which has actually created the field, which allowed it to be creative. So it's like, what are we putting into our bodies? Are we feeding our bodies? Are we exercising? Are we resting? What are we putting into our minds, our emotions? Are there places that need to be unraveled or healed? It was a fabulous film, not all that different for me, but it was a fabulous film. It was put together really well. So when we're talking about the brain, right? Your brain is not your friend. I have a couple of jokes for you. Ready? The human brain. Really makes you think, doesn't it? The stomach is so much smarter than the brain, because the stomach will let you know when it's empty. The brain doesn't. I know, I can't help it. I finally figured out what's wrong with my brain. On the left side, there's nothing right, but on the right side, there's nothing left. If you want to live a happy and great life, don't trust your brain too much, and don't train it too little. So there's lots of opportunities for us to look at the life we're living, to look at the experiences we're having, and to ask ourselves the question, do we like what we're experiencing? If so, do more of it, think more like that. But if you don't, we have to retrain the brain. We have to interrupt the patterns that are operating. So the second film that I watched recently is I think it's 94, it was created in 94, Kurt Russell film called Miracle. And it's the story of the 1980 Olympic hockey team. And the very short synopsis of this fabulous story that has so much applications to church and church leadership and such is this. Kurt Russell is hired to be the coach of this Olympic team. And he brings together, like, I don't know, there's like 100 or more candidates, applicants, right? They're all trying out. But in his first day, he says, I want these. I'm going to take these 26 people and we're going to go down to 20. So it's like June, I think, and the Olympics is in February or something like that. And so he takes these 26 individual hockey team players, all from college teams. So they're all college age. They're all the best of their teams. So they have, could we say, a little cockiness to them. They know they're the best. They know that's what they were chosen for. But the board, the advisory council of this particular team, of which Kurt Russell was hired to be the coach, wanted a say, and they wanted the best players. He says, I don't want the best players. I want these players because these players can become a team. Found that to be really fascinating. So his work was to take these 26 individual people who all knew they were the best and create a single team. And he worked really hard at that. He said to them from the very beginning, we may not win the Olympics. We may not beat Russia, which was the ultimate goal, but we will be in the best shape of anybody out there. So he worked them hard and hard and hard and hard. And in one scene, they had lost against, I think it was Norway. But during that game or that match, or that, I don't remember what it's called actually, the players were all like, oh, look at that girl, and oh, look at that girl. I wonder where we can meet up with that girl. And they were very distracted, and they didn't play that well, certainly not as a team. So after the team, this coach is so mad. You can feel him. He's just fuming. And so he won't let him go off the ice. He's back on the ice, and they've been doing these drills. He goes, do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again. These guys are now exhausted. They're about ready to drop. The coach and the doctor are both like, hey, coach, we need to stop this. He said, no, do it again, do it again, do it again. And at one point, one of the players called out his name and where he was from. And they had been doing this over the course of the film. So, and the coach said, and who do you play for? He said, USA. And the coach took a stand and he went, thank you. Finally, you got it. Now go home. And he sent him home. But in that moment, there was a pivot. There was the beginning of a miracle that happened, that they began to shift from each individual doing what they wanted to do or what they were good at to this synergy, to this cohesiveness. And the film went on. It's called Miracle. Look it up. It's great. And they won and they lost and they won and they lost. And then, won't tell you the very end, but you can probably guess it. But what they did is they came together for this greater vision, this greater common goal. And their relationships changed and the way they operated together changed. And it was just brilliantly, brilliantly beautiful. And so what I want to bring about that film is that that's what we get to do as a ministry. And we've been doing it all along, especially the leadership, right? We get to come into cohesiveness. We get to come, each of our individual stories, each of our individual brains, each of our individual talents, but for the greater good of the future of this ministry. And that the more that we do that, even in times, or especially in times when things aren't going exactly right, or there's bumps in the road, or people are having their personality things, or whatever is going on. And the truth is, that stuff goes on just because we're still in human form, right? But the more that we can remember our higher intention, our higher mission, our higher vision, our why. Why are we a ministry? We're here about transforming lives. We're here about celebrating spiritual awareness. We're here about embodying hope for humanity. And every single time we do that, we activate a new neural pathway. We deepen the neural pathways of our oneness. We come together for a greater good. So the question really is, how do we train our brain? How do we move that brain from just a voice in our head that runs us unconsciously to really trusting your brain? How can you begin to not trust your old brain too much and not train it too little? Here's a few hows. You can apply this anywhere in your life. Number one, slow down. Take a moment. Look, see, pay attention to what's going on. Number two, trust the mystery of life. Trust the bigger vision, the bigger intention. Trust that bigger idea of our ministry making a difference in the world. Number three, become curious. Become really, really curious. If there's something that is negatively impacting your awareness or your mood, become curious. What's underneath that? What's getting triggered? What's being called up for a greater healing? That goes back to the first film, the inner inside effect. It's like, what's being called here? How can I look at what's up for me and practice a greater spiritual and emotional maturity, which is ever evolving consciousness? Increasing our spiritual maturity is about self-awareness, paying attention to what's going on inside and how you are responding and what you are thinking. And the last piece of that is really trusting the stillness. Like when you do your meditation, go to the point of stillness. Go to the point where it is still. Like your mind might be running out here, let it run, but drop beneath it and connect with spirit in a way that opens you, in a way that inspires you, in a way that fills you. Our brains are not our friends until we master them, until we train them, until we break the subconscious patterns enough that we stay consciously aware, consciously choosing who we be in our biggest, boldest, most brilliant becomingness, from our beingness, then what we do. And from what we do, we've changed how we think. You could do it the other way around, but if you do it from the place of beingness, it actually accesses the quantum a little quicker, a little easier, a little more fully, and certainly with way more fun. So as you begin to train your brain, it becomes your greatest ally. It becomes that which supports your soul, which is how it was designed to be anyway. And we learn to discern then which part of our brain is activated. Are we in reaction? Are we in survival? Are we in emotional? Or can we activate the neocortex, the rational part of our brain, and make conscious choices about how we be, who we be, and how we respond to life around us? Train your brains, and you become a conscious co-creator of a fabulous future. Shall we pray? Take a moment and close your outer eyes. And as you do so, see if you can notice your brain. Notice how your brain runs. Notice how your brain operates. Notice how your mind just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes. And then consciously disengage from the mind. You might even like see yourself unhooking the fish hook or untangling the rope, the knot that keeps you. Untangle and drop down from your mind or your brain into the core of your being. Often we go to our body. That helps us disengage from the mind or the brain. Go to your body. Feel your body. Let your awareness pool in that lower abdominal area. And as your energy pools there, allow it to rise up just a bit to your heart space. And what if you knew without a shadow of a doubt that the universe has your back, that you are supported in your biggest, boldest, most brilliant becomingness? What if you knew that in every cell of your being? We're going to activate that even further through our chakra system. So bring your awareness, if you know the chakra system, to the root. So the area of your tailbone, if you don't know your chakra system, and just activate it. Feel it connecting through your legs, through your feet to the ground. And then come to your sacral. That's your lower lower abdominal area. Activate it, connect it to the root. Then come to your sacral chakra. It's that higher abdominal, just below your rib cage. Activate it, feel it connecting. Come to your heart chakra. Sometimes our hearts are hard to find, so drop to the back of your heart. That might help. And activate your heart chakra, line it up. And come to your throat. Activate that. Come to your forehead, your third eye. Activate that. Come to your crown. Activate that. Feel each of these chakras lining up together like a vertical core. This column of light. And as this column of light is coursing through your body, know this truth: I am supported. Let your system recalibrate, soften, relax, and rest in this column of support. You might feel tension releasing. You might feel your body moving. Let it release. That which needs to release, strengthen. That which needs to be strengthened, and align. I am supported by the universe, by God, by spirit, by source. And in and through and with this support, I choose today to train my brain. Say to yourself, I train my brain. And rest in the silence. Today, as I line up with the universal support, I consciously choose to train my brain. And so it is. And so we let it be. Take a deep breath in. And when you're ready, exhale. And so it is. And so we let it be. God bless you. Have a fabulous, brilliant day. See you soon.